This is a video I've been meaning to make for quite some time, and today what I want to do is go over something really cool that has improved workflow tremendously for me and a buddy of mine for our podcast. Now, if you're new to this channel, my name is Billy. Sometimes I go by Chief Redbeard, and I co-host a podcast with a buddy of mine named Nico. And also on this channel, we also do gear reviews and things like that. We are very passionate musicians who love talking about gear and anything involving music. So if you do like what you see today, please consider giving a little subscribe down there, hit the bell notification, so that way you know whenever we come out with any new videos, you'll be able to get notified immediately and be able to watch it when you're ready. Today, what we're going to be talking about is the Rodecaster Pro. If you are unfamiliar with this device, it is a device that is basically a mixer that is an all-in-one kind of studio recording device for you. For us, what it really did was improve workflow quite a bit. It sped things up very quickly for us because of onboard effects that it comes with. It made it to where we can, on the fly, make sure our volumes, everything was correct. And it also introduced something really cool that I enjoy doing, which is streaming our podcast live. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the company Rode, this is a company that, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, please let me know in the comments if you think so, are kind of the best bang for your buck products. I own a ton of their microphones. I own the Rodecaster Pro, and then there's also other devices I'm looking to get from that company. They are an Australian-based company that make really nice high-end sounding but budget-friendly microphones, along with the products like the Rodecaster Pro. There's another microphone that you can do a lot of the same features you can get on the Rodecaster Pro, but all through USB technology, as well as an array of products out there to help you in just your everyday kind of filming creator life. Now, this device is an 8-fader device that also has 8 different sample pads on it. We'll be looking at it in just a second. That has 4 microphone inputs and a couple of different inputs for different devices that you may have that you want to implement into your everyday needs for podcasting, creating, anything like that. Let's go ahead and take a look at it now. Now, over here to my right, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of weird camera stuff here, which is kind of wanting to get this video done and making sure that I get it done right. So we have it over here off to my right, as you can see. This is the Rodecaster Pro. Again, 8 faders. You have a nice little touchscreen up here that lets you know exactly where your volumes are at. You have a couple different meter options for that. I keep it on the broadcast meters myself. Big record button because you can record on board with this. 4 headphone outs, which is crucial when you're trying to do a podcast if you want to be able to hear what's going on. You also have a main out, so if you're able to hook up any type of other device like speakers or anything like that, and you want to use this as kind of a mixer for that, you can. And then your sample pads with its own dedicated fader, which is one of the coolest things that I think we could have gotten on this device. Now, as you'll see across the top here, we have 1 through 4, which is going to be 4 different mic inputs. And with those, you can individually make those inputs sound exactly how you want to make them sound. On board, you have a couple different options for audio processing. You have a noise gate, a high pass filter, a de-esser, a compressor, and Aphex. Aphex on there is actually more of a simplified EQ. The compressor is very easy to use for anybody that's not familiar with using a compressor. There are even basic settings for the mics. The de-esser is going to help take out some of those S's in your voice, like I probably have now. The noise gate is something that's also crucial to your recording. Sometimes you might have some hums or something going on in your room that you want to be able to take out, and that noise gate works very well to take those out. And then there's a high pass filter, and what that high pass filter does is a lot of people don't realize you have a lot of bass to voices a lot of times that you want to take some of that out. Anything really below 100 hertz, most of the time for voiceovers or anything podcasting wise, you kind of want to take that out. Some people might leave it around the 80 to 100 range, but anything under there is too low. If you were doing a professional music recording, this would coincide and clash with your bass guitar, and it would clash with your kick drums, any 808s or anything that you might have that's really down in that kind of sub 100 range. So your voices typically want to be up. So you want to make sure they're nice, crisp, and clear, and they sound to the best of their abilities. And that's what this device really does for anybody that's not really experienced in that type of field to be able to do. Now, once again, as you'll see here on the screen, I know it is a little hard to see, but up top, there's a main settings button. There is a music button, which controls your sample pads. You can load up to pretty much, I think, infinite amount of samples that you have. I'm sure there is an actual number, but I have uploaded quite a few, and I'm still not even close to reaching anywhere near a percent of that number. There's also an icon all the way to the right. Right now it has an X through it. Again, it's kind of hard to see, but what that is the SD card. So this is a fully portable setup for anybody that wants to use it that will record all of your podcasts on board for you via SD. It can take up to, I believe, 128 gigabyte SD card, which is plenty of space. You can have pretty much months of podcasts, depending on how long they are, on that SD card. It's also a USB device for your machine where you can actually record straight into any type of computer that you might be running into. Occasionally, we use that to either do it for our stream, where we send the audio straight to our stream, and I'll show you guys that in just a moment. Or what we will do is we'll actually take it and record to the computer, whether that is just via a hard drive of some sort, or you can actually use this in your DAW with the latest firmware updates. For those of you who don't know what a DAW is, that is a digital audio workstation, and what that is a recording software for anything that you would be recording, whether that be instruments, voiceovers, anything that you could think of recording that is audio, you would record in a DAW. Now, once again, we do have 8 faders here. As I said before, you have individual faders for all of your microphones here. You also have a fader for the USB. So if you were streaming, for example, I have used this for even video game streams where I want to play sounds or game volume or anything from my computer. All of that is routed through there. You would just select that in any of the drop-down menus that you may see, and then you would be able to control that volume however much you want to send out to your stream. The other one here has a phone icon above it. And what that's for is for plugging in any type of auxiliary device via an 1/8" cable. So not even just a phone. If you have any type of MP3 player, maybe even another computer that you want to just run sound straight out of the headphone jack, you can plug it straight in there, control your volume however you want to do it. And then the very last one is one of the coolest parts of this device, and that's a Bluetooth connection. So if you want to take phone calls for your podcast or anything of that nature, you can actually Bluetooth your device to it and get some pretty crystal clear sounds out of that Bluetooth fader. And then the very last one that we have all the way to the right is for your sample pads. Now, the sample pads are something that's really, really cool. They've also introduced some new features that are involved in these sample pads that I'll go over in just a moment. But just for starters, it comes loaded with quite a few sample pads already on it. I believe there are 16, and they're your general sounds. For example, let's listen to this one. Laugh track. Clapping track before that. So as you can tell, pretty much they've thought about this ahead of time. What would somebody want on their podcast? What would they want to be able to implement right away without needing to download any sounds? As far as downloading sounds, it's very simple. All you have to do is make a connection to any type of computer, and then you will be able to just use the Rode Companion app to be able to just kind of drag in your sounds via that way. For example, we have an intro for our podcast that have already dragged into the Rodecaster. And I won't make you sit through that whole thing. You've probably already heard it at the beginning. So with this, it's a very, very easy device to use. As far as your onboard effects go, like I said, you do have all of those. If you go into a compressor, for example, you have a couple of different things that you can look at here to kind of set. Very, very easy. The best I can recommend on any of these settings, if you're unsure, obviously there are plenty of videos out there that could show you how to do that, or just kind of play around with it until your voice starts to sound like you want it to sound. You do have headphone outs, as I said, so you'll be able to monitor yourself. Currently, I have the faders all the way to the right soloed because I personally don't like to listen to my own voice. So I am not listening to my input right now. I checked it beforehand. I would highly recommend that if that's something you're interested in, but I do have it off right now. As far as anything else goes, if you hit, all of these are color coded on the device here, 1 through 4 for your different inputs. As far as your microphones are concerned, it's XLR on the back. You would have to have a microphone that's capable of doing XLR out. The USB microphones won't work for this, but at the same time, if you're using a USB microphone, this probably wouldn't be a device for you anyways. If you hit 1 on the screen, for example, for this main microphone here, you have a couple different options. You have a level option to make sure that you're sticking within the levels that you want to stay with. There is a green bar to tell you. So if you've got a quiet speaker, you want to bring their level up. If you have a loud speaker like myself, you want to bring that level down. On this, there's also a phantom power switch. So if you have a microphone that requires phantom power, that's 48 volts of phantom power, and that would be any condenser microphone, then you would be able to turn on your phantom power here. You also have a microphone selection, which is something really cool. So as I said before, I am very, very pleased with Rode microphone products. They're becoming extremely popular, especially in the streaming community for gaming or anything really to do with voice. And what Rode has done is on the microphone page, they've already set presets for each of their individual mics. So they have the Rode Pod mic, which is what I'm using now. Right now, it's currently on a preset of the Procaster, but I've also changed that up to my liking. They have the Rode Broadcaster, which is their higher end kind of podcasting mic, the NT1, and so on. They even have a preset for just a basic condenser mic and a preset for your basic dynamic mic. So a lot of people's favorite mics out there are the SM7B from Shure. If you ask me, I think these mics do a very good job of competing with those. There should be some videos on that coming soon from me. On the other side of it, if you wanted to use that, you could use that, just select the dynamic and then change the compression EQ settings as you need. On the audio processing page, again, as I said before, there is 2 different parameters that you could set as far as your EQ is concerned. One is called the oral exciter, so that's going to hopefully add kind of a high-end lift to your voice. So again, kind of make it crisp and more clear and not so muddy on your voice. And the other one is a bottom in kind of thing. So a lot of people do, once again, even though you've already high passed it, you want a little bit of bass, you want that radio sound kind of to your voice. So what this does is that kind of helps you get in that direction. As far as the Bluetooth connection is concerned, it's a matter of holding the Bluetooth button, going to your Bluetooth device and making that connection. It is one of the easiest things that you can do on this. And then once again, if you are set to record, all you have to do is tap that record button. If an SD card was in there, it would be lit up red right now. Let's confirm that. Okay, so as you can see, I was wrong. If you do have an SD card in there, all you have to do is tap the green, big green, and in the normal fashion as it should be, it's going to turn red, indicating that you are recording. So there's never any second guessing. Am I actually recording? Is it working? It's very easy to format the SD card for this. And then once you're done, you just hit stop. As far as that, once the SD card is in, you can actually go back. You can listen to it. You can send it to the computer. You can, again, listen back on here. So if you want to do a test real quick, hey, everybody sounds good. If you're like me, I record in a very, very not so good feeling room. It's very hot in here. A lot of lights, cameras, everything's on. And what it does is it causes us not to want to wear headphones. So we do a check on everything before we get started. Once we know we're in place and everything is set, nothing's going to change, then we go ahead and record from there. Recently, Rode has come out with a lot of new features on this. One being a DAW control, which is something I thought was really, really cool. So basically, if you are recording to a DAW, as I spoke to earlier, the faders will actually control the faders in your DAW. So if you have the 1 through 8 set up and you have your Bluetooth, your computer, your phone, any of that, all of that will be sent to the DAW and you can control the faders via that. So that way you could got to do a real quick, easy mix once the audio is recorded. There's also multi-track recording. So in the event that you are recording straight to the SD or anywhere else, basically what you could do is you could send a multi-track out. So once you go to look in post to check your audio out, you're not limited to what was recorded on there. You can also bypass the settings if you would like as well. So in other words, you can bypass a compressor, you can bypass EQ. So if you feel more comfortable fixing all of that within your DAW, then you can go through and you can do that, and you can do it on individual tracks if you have the multi-track setting set. Now, as I said, you can do different amounts of sounds on the sound pad with that. All you have to do is go to your settings and go to the sounds, and then you could see pages of each of your sounds. The Rodecaster Pro also comes with different sheets that you can overlay on top of those sound pads. So if you want to dry erase, mark those, you can, and it makes it very, very simple for you to know exactly what sounds you're about to hit. If you're like us, we ignore that fact and we hit whatever sounds we think they are, and sometimes, if not most of the time, we get those wrong, but it also makes for a pretty funny show. Again, up top, you have your different outputs for your headphones. You have 4 outputs on the back. I'll take some B-roll of this stuff too so you guys can see this. So in different sections that may be set, maybe right here, you just basically have your 4 inputs for your mics, as I said before, and then your 4 outputs for your headphones, and then your 2 just left and right output if you were going to go into any type of speakers or anything like that. For your line outs is what they are considered. So your 4 headphone outs, some of the people on my show don't want a lot going to their headphones, so they tend to turn down. For me, when I do wear headphones, I tend to like a lot, so I can make sure I'm also checking as one of the hosts of the show. I want to make sure everything's right from the get-go if I'm using headphones. So while the Rodecaster packs a lot of cool features, as you can see here, it's very colorful, it's very easy to use. There's not much to it. There are a few cons that I have with this device. One con is it's bigger than I thought. On video, it is very, very hard to tell. Any video that I've seen, even with somebody's hand there, for some reason, I thought it was going to be smaller. That's not necessarily a con in my opinion, but it is something something that was unexpected, if you will. So the device is kind of large, so you do need a decent surface for it. You can't just go to a small table and be able to record. You'll need a little bit of space to be able to actually have that, as well as any microphones or anything on your table that you may have. But overall, I think it's probably good, because if it was a little smaller, maybe it wouldn't be as feature packed. So while the size, I'm saying it's kind of big, it's not really an issue for me. I was just surprised at the size by the time I actually got it in my hand. So any pictures or videos you see, don't be fooled. The other con is recently, outside of the music stuff that I do, I have started doing some video game streaming. I have the stuff to do it, and I figured, why not? Let's get into it. I enjoy playing video games. There is a device out there called the Go XLR. If you're familiar with any type of video game streaming, most of the popular streamers out there are using the Go XLR because it has a lot of the same features as far as the compression, EQ, the faders, all of that built into the Go XLR. The main difference that I have found, which I do have the Go XLR, I'll have a video coming on that hopefully soon. The main features that I have found that are very different is you cannot individually route your different faders. What I mean by that is, on here you have a 1 through 4 on all of your microphones, then you have the USB, you have the phone, and you have the Bluetooth, and then the sound pads at the very end. As far as those are concerned, those are stagnant. Those don't change to anything else. You can't say, well, I want number 2 to be my voice chat that I'm using for Discord when I'm playing video games, or number 3 for all of my music to play through. Everything that comes from your computer is only going to come through that one input on the USB device. I have reached out to Rode, and what it seems like is they do take suggestions very well. They did reach back to me and say that they will be sending it off to the development team. So I'm hoping to see that down in the future. Right now I'm using the Go XLR Mini, so it takes up a lot less space on my desk. However, if I only needed the one device and didn't need to hold on or buy multiple devices to do some of the similar things, that would make me much happier. As of right now, the Rode is a great piece. I use it for the podcasting solely. I use it for whether I'm podcasting just to record, or if I am streaming it. Again, I do use the Go XLR for the video game streaming. If they made those changes, then I would be very, very happy to most likely switch fully to the Rode and then sell the Go XLR. It's as simple as that. I just have that much faith in the Rode products. I really, really enjoy everything that I've ever gotten from them. I own this mic, the Rode Procaster microphone, the Rode NT1A. I've used a couple of their NT2s, I believe they're called. So I've used quite a few of their products, and I really, really like it. I love all the colors on it, everything that's involved in it. The sample pads, I have the Go XLR Mini, so I don't have the sample pads on my Go XLR as opposed to the bigger one. And there's just a lot of cool features in here, or maybe I have multiple people streaming that day with me in the same room. We're all doing something. Music streaming, it's not the best for an interface as far as that. I've tried plugging a guitar into it, and it doesn't really work that well. So there are a few things, but overall, if you are looking into getting into streaming, but you also want a podcast, and there are a lot of different things that you want to do, this is the device for you. If you're looking for those features that you would get in a Go XLR, and maybe the Rodecaster is the only thing that's available at the time, I would say wait for the Go XLR, because there are some things that I think you'll be slightly disappointed, as I was in it. However, again, they seem very good. A lot of the new features with the DAW control and everything there, those are new features that they just rolled out, and those were suggestions from other people saying, hey, we would love to see these features. All of that seems to be fixed in firmware updates. The firmware updates are very simple. All you got to do is, again, hook it up to the computer, open the Rode Companion, and you can just download the firmware and set it to it. I mean, it's very simple. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is post-recording Billy here. I forgot to mention a pretty key important part of this video that I'll insert probably in some random spot at this point, but the device for the Rodecaster is $599. I didn't talk about that price, completely slipped my mind, but if you ask me, I think that's a very competitive price. When you look at products like the Go XLR Plus, that is $499, doesn't come with all the faders or the inputs on it. However, again, just the complaints that I've talked about at some point in this video as far as the audio routing, I think that's going to be coming soon, though. At least that are my hopes. So if you're looking for something that is kind of future-proofed, as well as you can do a whole lot of different things with it, obviously this is the device for you. All right, so other than that, what I want to do is I do want to go ahead and switch over. I'm going to show you guys exactly kind of what the Rode Companion app looks like, and then I'm going to show you exactly how to kind of set this up for maybe a stream within OBS. All right, so I know this gets a little bit funky because it's capturing if it's capture, if it's capture, if it's capture, but I do want to try to show you here real quick if I can. Basically in here, I just have a little area set up here for the audio input capture. So if I double click on that, See, it should bring that up. And then basically all you gotta do is drop down and hit the Rodecaster Pro. It would be the same as if you were looking in your task menu here. It would be the same as in the sound settings, anything that you use, Discord, you can also do the same thing. All you do is literally drop down as your audio input device would be your Rodecaster Pro. If you wanted to come through the headphones, you can do that as well. And this will act as an audio interface in that sense to be able to feed all of your audio through. Again, desktop audio would come through there. You have a fader for it. Simple as that. So this is a Rodecaster Pro companion app. Very simple to use. Basically, you have any podcast that you may have as far as your transfer mode. You have your sounds. Basically, you double click on those. You'll be able to transfer your sounds on and off. You can flip through your different banks that you have. There is a bleep button that I forgot to talk about. So basically what it does is it'll bleep out if you think you're cussing and mute your output and send a bleep through. There's a trash talk. So if you're on a call with somebody and you want to trash talk them without them hearing you, you can hit that. Different sounds here. These are a couple that I put in, just some funny internet memes, baby goat. These are all part of the latest firmware. And then these are the ones that came default, except for this one. This is the intro that I was talking about. Very, very easy to use. When I opened this up, there was already another beta update. So it's possible that they're introducing features as I was talking about. I haven't seen anything on that yet. So it could be coming. There are a lot of cool features on this. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments down below. I hope I covered everything. I was hoping to make this video as short as possible. I'm not even sure that I was able to achieve that. We'll have to take a look. But aside from that, thank you guys very much for checking this out. Again, if you haven't already, and if you could, please consider subscribing to the channel. We have a lot of cool different things that we come out with weekly on this channel, whether it be the podcast, any gear reviews, anything like that. We have some reaction videos that we're putting up lately, especially if you're into kind of the metal genre. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.